searching for hidden objects throughout different scenes. And as you progress through the different scenes, you unlock clues which will ultimately assist you in solving the murder. So it's really exciting as you go through from one scene to another, because each scene is so unique. Like, you're in different rooms, and the rooms are so ornate and interesting to look at. I love the game because, number one, I think the graphics are really sharp and really beautiful, and it's a relaxing game. You know, you don't feel uptight like you're fighting against the game. It's not that kind of thing. You can do it in your free time, just unwind a little bit. You can do it when you're like waiting in the waiting room at the doctor, or you're online at the supermarket, you know. Pick up, leave off where you want. And of course, the fact that it is a true crime game is what really gets me. I highly recommend you go check it out for yourself and see what you think. There is a link down below in the description box. And thank you again to June's Journey. Alright, so let's get back into the case. So, this case is about a family called the Stockdale Family. There were two parents and four boys. Kathy was the mother, the father, Timothy, and the four boys, in order of oldest to youngest: Calvin, Charles, Jacob, and James. Now, this family was a very religious family. They purposely moved to Beach City, Ohio, because they wanted to be away from the negative influences of the city, and here they felt they could raise their family in the safest way possible. Every morning, Father Tim would go out to a job outside the home. He would leave at 5:30 in the morning. At 7:30, all the kids were expected to be up and ready for breakfast. If they were not ready for breakfast on time, they would be fined 25 cents. They were homeschooled by Kathy. In addition to their homeschool work, they were expected to work the farm and clean the house. And they were also in a family bluegrass gospel band, so they would also spend time practicing for the band. Now, the way it worked at this home was the boys could earn tokens by doing a good job at their work. They could earn extra tokens for doing it with a glad heart. And tokens would be taken away if they made a mistake. They could then trade in tokens for the opportunity to listen to a family-approved radio show, which would be supervised by Kathy, or something like a stick of chewing gum. There was to be no TV, no movies, no video games, no alcohol, no drugs, no sexual influences, no junk food, no cookies, no decided to switch with this family called the Tonkovics. Now, the Tonkovics, of course, were 100% different from them. They were a family of 2 parents and 2 kids. One was 17 and one was 21. They were a liberal family. There was a lot of cigarette smoking going on in the house. There was a lot of junk food. There were pretty much, no rules. The kids had free reign. Both of the kids had their significant others living rent-free in the house. The parents would freely hand money over to the kids whenever they asked. You get what I'm saying? So, they had the swap, and when Lori, the Tonkovic mother, moved into the Stockdale house, she tried to make some changes. She was very sad for them. She cried a lot when she found out, how restricted their lives were. At the time of the swap, these were the ages of everyone. Kathy was 44, Tim 48, Calvin 19, Charles 16, Jacob 15, and James was 11. Now, she right away said, okay kids, you're gonna watch TV, you're gonna play video games, and they were pretty excited. But Jacob, who was 15, he ran out of the house crying, and Lori followed him, and she asked him what's wrong. And he said that, according to his parents, he would, quote, burn in hell for this. So he was obviously very afraid that by him sitting down and watching some TV, he was going straight to hell. Like, imagine that as your legitimate thought process, that you sat down, somebody put on the TV for you, you watched it, and now you are going to hell. Like, imagine if you truly believed that, how scared you would be. And that made her very sad. And when she asked one of the kids, what would he do if he didn't have to work from, sun up to sundown, he said he would, have more free time, but he really couldn't say what he would do with it. And she was sad about that as well. That these kids just had no fun in their lives. And she set up the 2 eldest boys to go on dates with girls. And it seemed like they were agreeing to it just for her sake, not because they agreed with the idea. Now, I don't know whatever happened with those dates, because I could not get to watch the episode. I was only able to watch clips, and I didn't find that out. If you know, if you watched the full episode, let me know in the comments. So anyway, on the other side of the swap, Kathy was trying to change things up in the Tonkovic family. And they really weren't having it, like they were used to sleeping like till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They were used to all that junk food. And she was trying to make them do chores in the house for tokens, and they're like, why would we do that? Like, it just, it wasn't going very well there. he had won multiple awards for it, okay? Many championships. He was really talented at the fiddle. Okay, so on June 15th, 2017, 911 received a phone call from the Stockdale home. Now, this was not a home they were familiar with. They had never been called there before. Nobody had any legal problems, okay? So they get a call, and nobody spoke, but they just hung up. So the police came down to the scene. The door was open. It was not locked. And right away, they saw James, 21 years old, shot dead near the front door. They heard a single gunshot and came to see Jacob had just shot himself in the head. He was not dead, but as you can imagine, he was close to death, okay? That was a shot that was intended to kill him, not some little cry for help. He meant to take his life with that shot. They went upstairs and they found Kathy, who was 54 at the time. Jacob was 25, I don't think I said. She was also shot dead in the upstairs bathroom. So, obviously, they had to rush Jacob to the hospital. It took him a full year to recover. But even so, he became blind in one eye, and some of the bullet fragments remained in his brain. They put him into a mental health facility, and he was charged with the 2 murders. He pled not guilty by reason of insanity. And while he was in this mental health facility, he tried to escape 2 times. Once in November 2019 and once in December 2019. The first time he did it by trying to hide between bookshelves, whatever that means. And the second time he tried to sneak out while some other people were walking out. Meanwhile, while they tried to have hearings with him, like through Zoom, because it was getting to be around that time, you know, and they were doing Zoom things, he wasn't even talking. And they would be like the judge would be like, "Do you hear me?" And he wouldn't say anything. But the, deputy behind him would be like, "Yeah, I could hear you, you know." So he wasn't speaking. Like, why wasn't he speaking? Was he purposely not speaking? Was he just, was he suffering from, brain damage? That's how it was going, basically. But they got him another evaluation and found him to be legally sane at the time of the murders and fit to stand trial, basically. So the idea of trying to plead not guilty by reason of insanity did not sound like a good idea. So he was supposed to have his trial finally in May of 2021, but a few weeks before that, he decided to plead guilty. And they gave him 15 years say